So Jim and Yvette, welcome to our Tennessee Power Up. And one of the things we'd like for you to talk about is some of the systems and that you've implemented from place after talking with Brian Gubernick. So kind of tell us about where you were before and what kind of prompted that conversation.
So before we started,
hold on. I'm sorry. Let me back up. Tell me about yourself too. Where are you guys from? And what
we're
you
from
guys
Grand
do in volume
Rapids,
and your
Michigan.
team. Okay.
We've been in Grand Rapids, Michigan since 2001. Yvette got in real estate in 2005. I got in 2009 when she got busier. We were at a local brokerage. We switched to Keller Williams in 2012. And we met Ben in 2012. We became place partners in 2019, and then COVID happened. So our official launch date is 2021 of January. Before we joined, we were closing right about 2 to 3 million a month. And that's kind of where we had started. And in talking with Ross, he said we should talk with Brian because we were having some challenges and some issues. And so we started talking with Brian, and Brian said, your problem isn't what you think it is, it's your confidence in the systems, right? And so
we have a high producer, Lauren Rocco, on our team, and Lauren closes between 55 and 60 units a year, has consistently done that. But Lauren doesn't follow the model. Lauren has her success not through the models. So we weren't building confidence in those models. So Brian said, hey, let's back up. Let's look at the models. I think if you can build your confidence in there, he had us kind of rate the different areas of our business. And he said, I think if we can raise your confidence level in the models, it will help you. And so that's kind of where we started.
Yep. And so he said, what we're going to do to start that is and this started in March, right? Our January was horrible. Our February was okay.
I think our volume was like 500,000 in January.
It was.
And like, it was terrible.
It was
Yeah,
terrible.
everybody's volume was down.
It was terrible.
It was so low. I can't even remember the last time we sold that low of an amount, right? It was just like, what's going on? And so we started with the goal of conversations for 2 reasons. Brian said, no matter what, you're going to hit it. Even if you have to have all the conversations and it takes you doing all the work, we're going to do that. And so the goal was 2,050 real estate related conversations. And we got that number by adding up everybody's goal on our team. One of the issues that we kind of had is everybody knew their own goals and were charging toward their own goals, but nobody knew, or nobody was really bought into the cumulative team goal, right? Of, in this case, 2,050 conversations. It kind of instantly changed when we started this, right? One of the things that we did is we took Chris's suggestion. There was if you remember on a Friday call, he talked about the University of Chicago did a study that if you, as a group, talk about your goals every day, you have a higher chance of hitting them. So we started at Power Up every morning stating how many conversations we would have. And that kind of goal turned into, now a lot of people will do 13 conversations and one appointment, right? And so we started doing that and we started hitting these things. So it started in March and it took us 9,000 dials to hit 2,075 conversations.
That March was brutal because I know that Jim got sick for a week, was out, and then we had Blehm. And so a lot of our team was gone. And so we weren't even to half of our goal by the 3rd week.
Yeah, it came to the 15th of March, and out of the 2,050 conversations, we were like 536.
Wow.
So we were way behind. So what we did is, and we were, a lot of us were leaving for Blehm, right? So we kind of gamified it. that week that we were gone, and there was 3 agents that stayed back. And we kind of did this, first one to hit their goal for the day gets a gas card, right? Because at the time, gas was super expensive. And so we did different things. When we got back from Bill Tao, they were at 937 conversations, right? And we had a week left. So we had more than half in a week. So when we started, we needed 13 conversations each, and we fell behind. That last week, we recalibrated the number, and we were at about 44 conversations that we needed each per day, right? And so everybody worked their butts off. We did hit the goal on the very last day at like 8 o'clock at night, right? Everybody was tired, but we were super happy. And so the first big takeaway is don't fall behind.
Don't fall behind. Don't fall behind.
Right. Don't fall behind.
The other thing we found in that month was in the beginning, when we first started out, our conversion rate for conversations to appointments set was anywhere from 24 to 26 conversations equaled an appointment. When we got behind and we had to just really grit it out, that dropped to 45 conversations to 1 appointment. So the farther behind, the less effective we are.
Yes, and here's why. When we first started, we were talking to sphere of influence, past clients, conversion rates better, right? That last week, we did a lot of circle prospecting to people we don't know, right? And so the conversion rate shot up. The other thing is, and you'll see when we get to the next month. So the next month, let's go there. The next month in April, we changed it from conversations had to
Appointment set.
appointment set.
We kind of went down that funnel. So conversations and then appointment set. We knew from the previous month we had set 46 appointments. And so we said, okay, let's make our goal 40 appointments. That was our focus. We ended up hitting that goal at the 3rd week. The third week we hit our 40 and ended up the month at 49. Our conversion rate when we looked at that appointments, conversations to appointment set was 21 to 1.
Yes.
So we were seeing better conversion rates.
In April, so in March, we ended up with 46 appointments, right? As a team, we had never even set 30 appointments in a month. So we focused on the conversations and just having them, but we ended up with a ton of appointments. The second month, we figured, well, we can do better, right? And so we focused on the appointment, and it took us half the amount of conversations. And the reason for that is we were asking better questions, right? The first month, it didn't require skill, right? It required grit to make the conversations. The second month, it took some skill. So we had to skill up, right? The intention was more not just talking to somebody, but getting the appointment set. And so it was really fascinating to me that it took us less than half of the conversations to get more appointments.
So no, let me ask a couple questions here. You started with conversations, and I think we know why, but kind of tell me why you started with conversations.
Because it was the one thing that I can control that I knew we'd hit the goal, right? Brian said, no matter what it is, you're going to hit the goal. You're going to state the goal, the team's going to be in, and you're not going to miss the goal, right? Like there was no option to fail. And so that was the one thing we can control. If I had to get in there and sit there and dial, and like I said, there were things that came up that we didn't expect. I got sick. I missed almost 2 weeks. But we can control how many dials we do, right? And so that was the first thing.
So what that did then too is it made you sharper, because you said you asked better questions. So they had a lot of practice then.
Yes.
They did.
Yes.
They would get off the phone and they'd be like, oh, I should have asked this, I should have asked that, right? Like I say, the first month it was more about just talking to people, but then it was like, if we're going to do this, we need to ask better questions and get more appointments, right? Which we were thrilled with how many appointments we ended up with in the first month. But the second month, we also blew it out of the water there. The weird thing is, so our best month ever in pending or closed volume was 4.5 million. right? And we had done that several years ago. About 5 weeks in, we looked up, and out of all these appointments and all these conversations we had sat, at one point we had 9.3 million ended.
Your team must have been ecstatic with
Yes.
the extra
They were
volume.
Yeah.
thrilled. They were thrilled, right? Like they were ecstatic. They were super happy,
Well,
right?
it really changed. We've always had a really good culture on the team, but not around our numbers. And so the team, like owning the numbers as a group, we kind of had this no man left behind. So they were listening to each other on, oh, hey, you could have said this, or that was great that you said that. So we started getting a better dynamic with the team.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. And you know, people just picking up on each other and everything was great. So May came along, and we changed the focus. The focus was appointments held. The goal was 30 appointments held, right? One of the things we found in the second month is we set a lot of appointments, but having people show up, right? Were we still at our top in asking the questions and pre-qualifying? And we weren't. We were a little bit low. We were about 50%, I think, and we wanted to get it up to 65%. So the goal for May is appointments held. It took us 2,136 dials. We had 795 conversations, but we held 30 appointments that month, right? So our conversion rate did go up.
we saw conversations to appointments set 16-1 that
Yeah.
month. So we're
So-
still seeing increases. And that's where we started really seeing a difference in our close volume. So we went to, in May, we closed just shy of 6 million. So 5.9 million we closed
Yeah.
in May.
So where we were between 2 and 3 million historically per month, right? On an average. That in May, we'll close 5.9 million. In June, we'll close 6.1 million. And then in July, we'll be on track again for somewhere in the 5s, right?
So June, our goal for June is taken, whether it's a listing taken or a buyer agency taken. We found we've really had to skill up every single month. That skilling up, like doing the conversations versus the taking the listings, there was a huge gap for us in our skill. But right now we're currently at 12 of our 18. So we'll hit that. We're at 6.1 million pending and closed for June. And we have an additional 3.4 million pending for July and August. So it really, what we found was, as we went on, even though we had to scale up, it's become our norm now with these numbers, like talking about our goals and kind of no man left behind. And it's now become our culture of productivity with the agents. So
everybody checks in every day on where we're at with our goal. And so the first month in March, we hit it on the last day at 8 o'clock at night, right? In April, we hit it the last week. So at the end of the third week, we hit it. For May, we actually had held all the appointments that we needed for the month by the 13th of the month. Like we were way ahead. And so it just goes to show, like, what you focus on and make your goal, right? Like that's the thing. And you know, the first month, like I said, it was conversations, and the second month it was appointments, and it took us a whole lot less conversations to make those. I mean, our conversion rate has gone from 45-1 to 21-1 to 16-1, right? And so that's been amazing.
With a different focus, right?
And here's the other thing that it really showed me. The place models work, right? We followed the place models and we did that. And like she said, Lauren, our biggest producer, doesn't follow the models. She's more of a Facebook person, right? She runs groups and Facebook and stuff. And And, but if you follow the models and do the stuff, it absolutely works. And skill up on the scripts.
Now, you told me, or you shared with me that you had one agent because you were seeing how many appointments you could have each day. And
Yeah,
about that.
so she, as I said, we started with how many conversations. And then some people would be like, well, the ultimate goal is the appointments, right? That's the goal for the month. And so they would say 13 or 20 conversations and or one appointment, right? And she started this thing where her goal would be an appointment a day. And I don't remember the exact number, but she was pretty close to 30 days in a row setting an appointment. I can't remember. I think it was 32. Yvette seemed to think it was like 28 or 29 or something. But
I remember we would declare our goals, and there was a week that was really busy for her. And she said, I don't think I can get in 13 conversations today. And I said, just do an appointment. And she said, I don't know if I can get one appointment. I've done like so many in a row. I don't know if I can do another one. I said, just do an appointment. So she started her lead gen, and I think within the first 20 minutes.
20 minutes, she had an appointment, right?
But she's like, I had to get in, get the appointment set, and get out. And when we've realized when that's your focus, you can get in, you can find it. It just changes your conversation. It changes how you listen. You listen different because I got to get that appointment. So you lean in a little bit more, you listen a little bit more.
I think your mindset is huge, right? Of what you got to accomplish. Just like that day, she had a bunch of appointments. She only had about 40 minutes, but she found a way to get it done, right? It was horrible when her streak broke. Everybody was like, oh man, like what the heck happened? She's like, nobody wanted to meet with me.
We've had to really talk a little bit about mindset. We've had to really focus on that, especially as we've gotten, where the next month is skilling up a little bit more. And now we have the summer months that are coming in and some vacations that we're taking. We're working on really balancing how do I continue to drive my goal and not burn myself out.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of conversations about mindset, what that looks like, how you look at your schedule and look ahead for planning and be a lot more proactive.
By the way, Lauren's on vacation this week up north, and she still pended 2 more deals. Right? Like, it's crazy. So text somebody. I need somebody to write an offer. I need somebody to do that. But it's good.
Tell me what it looked like in the morning when you guys got together to talk about your goals. What did that look like?
So we do power up. The first thing we start with is gratitudes. That's the first thing we start with every day. It takes about 10-15 minutes, depending on how long people tell stories about their gratitudes. And then we declare our goals, right? So we bring out the sheet. We've got a big whiteboard that we write it on. And everybody's name, and from the day before, what was your goal? How many did you have, right? And it's weird because if somebody didn't hit their goal, there's no critiquing it. There's no, oh man, it's just, that's what it is, right? And so they declare their goal, and we'll have people that say, 20 conversations or 1 appointment, and they'll come in like Shannon, and she had 3 appointments, right? And so that's a huge win. So we go through that, and then we declare our new goal for that day, right?
And that sheet hangs. It hangs on my door, which is the agents walk by my door constantly. Yeah. But that goal is in front of us all day long.
It's actually in front of the whole office if they walk by our office. Yeah. Like I say, hanging on the door, so we all know what everybody's goal is, right? You can check in with people and say, hey, how are you coming along?
And then we'll talk about, were there any challenges that you had the day before? Do we need to work on any scripting? We try and work on that in real time. If you had a challenge yesterday, let's talk about it today. Just because it's fresh. The emotions are fresh, the conversations are fresh. So we'll work through any of those challenges that we might have had.
What improvements have you made in your systems, or what have you changed since you really got focused, ultra focused in the conversations, then you moved it to appointments, and then actually making certain that you held the appointments?
reporting has been a big, really understand. We had problems with reporting before that, and I think it's because they weren't making the connection between, if I'm looking at the numbers, I can figure out where my challenges are. And so it was necessary for us to report every single day so that we could we know we were hitting the goal. And we started to see, oh, okay, I can see where I need to skill up in some areas. So reporting and our systems around reporting has really improved. Working our presentations, that's been a big improvement for us, is being more consistent with working those presentations.
And the questions, are huge, right?
Yeah.
The reporting was a big issue for us. Some people were good about it, some people weren't. But when we were doing this, everybody wanted to see where we are with the goal. So they were really conscious about reporting, and then they learned the importance of having that information and data, right? It allowed us as leaders to help them more, which then made it easier for them, right? Their conversion rates shot up. So
Very good. Now, Ben always talks about the 3 real estate success principles are: say the right thing, say it enough times, have enough people to say it to. So after you talk to Sphere past clients, who were you talking to then? Because you're talking, a couple thousand conversations each month. It's been 6 months now. So who'd you add to it?
the next thing we went to is Brevity leads in Brevity, right? Our people reaching out, either new leads that had registered, but the other thing that we really focused on was people looking at market reports, right? Viewed market reports recently, like in the last 7 days is where we started. And then we would go all the way out to 30 days. That was probably the next thing, was Brevity leads. Our last thing we did was circle prospecting, right? We would circle prospect around our new listings, or our just solds, right? Or if we had a specific buyer looking in a specific neighborhood, we would pull lists and circle prospect around that neighborhood. We also started door knocking. The team started getting together once or twice a week, and would go generally on Thursday or Fridays and door knock neighborhoods also around our listings where we were having open houses and things. And so they started a little group of that too.
We also talked a little bit about keeping your energy up and staying in the game, not checking out. And so some of our agents are involved in different groups, whether they have dog groups or Shannon is involved in some things that have to do with music. And so they went back and connected in their groups a little bit more.
One of the things we're looking at now is we found when they hit their goal, they take their foot off the gas pedal.
Yeah, that was
Right.
that. Yeah.
So the month that we hit the goal on the 13th of the month, those next 2 weeks, people weren't hard charging as much as they did the first half of the month, right? And so how do we help with that? And I'm not saying you gotta, go full bore all the time, but not back off that much, right? Where's the middle? Somebody told me once, right? Like if somebody wants to say, somebody says they want to make $75,000, right? If they want to make 100, if somebody needs 75,000 to pay all their bills, they work their butt off to get to that 75,000 because that's what they need to survive, right? But over that, they don't work as hard because that's the luxuries, that's the extra vacations, that's the new car, that's whatever, but that's not survival for them.
It's easy to write
Right.
that off and
Right.
kind of check out. And so we realize like the importance of your goals and understanding if you're saying that you need 100,000, like, do you understand the energy that it's going to go in, or the grit that it's going to take, and just being aware. And that's been a big focus for us, is just being aware of the energy that it's going to take for you to hit these goals, what your mindset has to look like. Are you sleeping? Are you eating right? All of these things affect how we show up. And so there's been a lot of conversations around that, how we're taking care of ourselves, what we're surrounding ourselves with. It's kind of been a whole awakening of a lot of things that we talk about, but it's been bringing them all together.
All kind of put together, right? So the goal for June is 18 taken, right? We had conversations, then appointments set, then appointments held, and now it's the conversion of getting the contract signed, right? That's our goal. 18 is what we wanted. We are currently at 12,
Well,
and we have a week or so left. So
Very
we'll
good.
get there.
Let me open up for questions for anybody.
Yep.
Any questions for Jim or Yvette?
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, it's inspiring to see just straight numbers. I would say a couple things that are a little mind-boggling for me is like the tracking. How have you guys got to the point where you the process of tracking and then also seeing the conversion rate? Who is doing that, like straight numbers? And then that's one question. The second one is just, are you guys, it sounds like you guys are always in person, always like in the office doing these things. So just want to talk about those two.
So we meet in person 4 days a week. Wednesday is what we call a flex day. Somebody can do personal stuff, not come in, whatever. Or they can work from home, but we meet Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday in person.
in person.
As far as tracking, our director of operations set up a form that they go in and they fill it out, and that automatically populates in CTE, which would not thrill Ben to hear me say. But then one of our VAs takes that information and puts it in Brevity. So it does make it to Brevity.
And so I'm the one who's watching I watch the numbers and the conversion rates. And so I'm constantly talking with the agents. We celebrate a lot of the numbers. If we're coming up a little bit short, I work to have conversations ahead of that so that we can make sure that we're hitting those numbers. So it's just constant conversations. We found personally, we, like everyone, hit by COVID, and we were home. Michigan shut down really hard during COVID. It took us a little bit to get back in the groove of meeting together, but our group has found that when we're together, there's just a different type of energy. So we try to meet together as much as we can. For the most part, the whole team is together on those 4 days until about 12, 1 o'clock, and then they kind of go their separate ways. But that being together has been key to our success over the last few months since we implemented these systems.
Okay.
Yeah, great.
Who else?
Thank you.
Amy, any questions?
So I know we talked about a lot of little numbers here, right?
Mhm.
If you extrapolate it out, so last year we finished 34 million. Our goal is 48. We are currently at 26 million. And if we keep on this pace, we should finish in the 60 million range, which is a huge jump considering, because we had to make up for our horrible January, right? So we started we started in a hole when we started doing these activities and working with Brian.
Okay. Last question. Who's got it?
I have a question.
Yep.
When you guys started out, if you can go back to your beginning mindset, when you were having those first conversations with people, what do you think is the most important thing? I know you were focusing on appointments, but maybe that, and kind of if you can just go back and remember what was your main focus.
When we first started, so our goal in the beginning was the conversations. We really talked about kind of the no man left behind, that we were doing this together. There was a lot of talk about we will not fail, like that. We had a reward for the team. We were going to do breakfast together at a restaurant that they like here. And so there was a lot of talk about that reward and what that was going to be when we celebrated together. So we were actually kind of celebrating the goal, the win before we even got to the win. We were talking about it, you know, where we were gonna go and that everyone was gonna be there.
The funny part was in the first month, because we were focusing on the conversations, and that was just, we check in every day. How many conversations did you have? Nobody realized, except Yvette, because she was looking at the numbers every day. Nobody realized how many appointments we were setting, right? As I said before, we had never set 30 appointments in 1 month. We didn't realize we were in the 40s already. And it just,
Wow.
we knew we were busy. We knew we were having a lot of conversations that last week, right? The first couple of weeks, we thought, man, we're never going to get there because we were so far behind.
And I think
But-
our biggest conversation was around that mindset. Just trying to stay positive, building positive conversations around the goal. It got really difficult again with a lot of us being gone during that month. Our team that went to Built How was really cheering on the people who had stayed back and were still working that. So it was just that team dynamic of, hey, we're in this together, and just staying with positive talk. And
we were all trying to figure out, because on the 15th of March, we knew we were leaving and we knew we were only a quarter of the way, right? And so it was like,
Yeah.
how are we going to make this up? Like, how are we going to do this? And so, like she said, we really cheered on the 3 people that stayed back, that got us to 900 and some odd conversations, right? That at least it made it to where we were within striking distance. But that was the focus. And like I said, we didn't realize the end result was so big for the appointment set.
Yeah, that's really just focusing on conversations in the beginning, like, and when you're talking about conversations, are you talking on the phone or anywhere?
Anyway,
so we had anywhere. What we said was it has to be a true real estate conversation. So somehow
Okay.
you have to feel that you spoke about real estate. This person knew that you were in real estate, and somehow you set up either they were ready to buy, sell, or invest, or you set it up for another conversation going forward. So somehow you had to be confident that you had a real estate conversation.
we also didn't realize how many dials we had made. If you would have said at the beginning of the month, you're going to need to make 9,500 dials, right? I would have been like, no way, right? We didn't realize how many we made that it took to make that amount of conversations.
Very cool. Hey, Amy had a question for you.
Yep.
Yes. Are you guys able to share the document that you guys used? I guess that all the agents put their info in that actually computes everything, and then you're able to give it to the VA?
Sure.
Yep.
That would be great. My
That'd be
mind
great.
turning.
It's, yeah, it counts all the different things, and it also asks for your source, right? The source of the prospecting for that day. So, yep,
Okay.
we can do that.
Jim and Yvette, thank you so much for taking your time and spend with us and share your guys' success. Good luck to you and your team. I mean, again, it's just proves about the place model. So thank you so much for that. Anything you'd like to?
Absolutely. We'd love to hear how your next month or 2 goes, right? And see the success that you guys are having. That'd be awesome.
All right, we'll do that.
All right.
Right. Thank you
all.
so much.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Mhm.